In this video, we're diving into 8 real-life cases where female teachers in the United States crossed moral and legal lines, turning classrooms meant for learning into stages of manipulation, secrecy, and crime. These aren't just scandalous headlines. They're true stories of betrayal, power imbalance, and deep psychological harm inflicted under the guise of trust. Each individual featured was legally charged or convicted, and the consequences of their actions were devastating for students, families, and entire communities. Viewer discretion is strongly advised as we unravel these disturbing, real-world cases that expose the dark side of the classroom. 1. Mary Kay Letourneau, Washington. In 1996, a scandal emerged from a quiet suburb of Seattle that would shock the nation and redefine how we talk about abuse of power in the classroom. Mary Kay Letourneau was 34 years old, a wife, a mother of 4, and a respected teacher at Shorewood Elementary School in Des Moines, Washington. Her reputation among students and parents was spotless until the truth came out. Behind her professional image, Letourneau was harboring a dark secret. She had formed an inappropriate relationship with one of her students. He was just 12 years old. What began as after-school mentoring quickly became something else entirely. Letourneau showered him with attention gifts and private meetings. She blurred the lines between guidance and grooming. This wasn't a romance, it was a calculated abuse of trust, masked by emotional manipulation. By early 1997, their relationship could no longer be hidden. A relative of the boy tipped off authorities, and Letourneau was arrested. The case sent shockwaves across the country. She was charged with 2 counts of second-degree child rape. Despite the gravity of the charges, Letourneau initially downplayed her actions, claiming it was love. But the facts were clear: this was not a relationship between equals. It was a teacher exploiting a child. She pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 7.5 years in prison. But during her incarceration, the case took an even more unsettling turn. Letourneau gave birth to a child fathered by the boy she had abused. And that wasn't the end after serving her sentence. Mary Kay Letourneau was released from prison in 2004. Many assumed she would retreat from public view. Instead, in a move that stunned the public, she reconnected with her former student, now a legal adult, and married him in 2005. They had a second child together. Their wedding was televised. To some, it was spun as a love story, but to others, it was a disturbing symbol of unresolved trauma. The man, once a boy caught in an illegal and deeply confusing relationship, later expressed mixed emotions about their history. He acknowledged the manipulation even as he tried to make peace with it. The marriage eventually ended in separation, and in 2020, Mary Kay Letourneau died of cancer at age 58. Her story became one of the most infamous cases of teacher-student abuse in U.S. history, and it forced the public to confront uncomfortable truths. Why was her behavior romanticized by some? Would we view it differently if the genders were reversed? This wasn't just a scandal, it was a case that blurred the lines between manipulation and myth. And for the victim, it wasn't a love story, it was a stolen childhood. 2. Brittany Zamora, Arizona. Brittany Zamora. Remember that name? A name synonymous with betrayal. A chilling reminder of how trust can be weaponized within the very halls designed for learning and safety. This isn't just a story. It's a stark, true crime account of a predator in plain sight and the devastating consequences of their actions. The timeline of Zamora's insidious grooming is critical, beginning in 2018. This wasn't a sudden lapse in judgment, but a calculated descent into depravity. As an educator, Brittany Zamora held a position of immense power and influence, yet she chose to abuse it meticulously, cultivating a sinister relationship with a 13-year-old student. Her methods were insidious, utilizing platforms designed for educational communication, school apps. To send explicit messages, this digital grooming was a carefully constructed web, trapping a vulnerable child in its threads. The horror escalated beyond the digital realm. Zamora's brazen actions moved into the physical space of the classroom itself, the supposed sanctuary of learning, becoming the very stage for her abhorrent conduct. The chilling audacity of her actions carrying out a relationship with a minor inside the classroom speaks volumes about her predatory mindset and utter disregard for professional ethics and legal boundaries. This wasn't a hidden secret. It was a brazen violation happening where it was least expected. The crucial turning point arrived when the victim's parents, through their vigilance, uncovered the damning evidence. The discovery of the explicit messages shattered their world, but it also provided the undeniable proof needed to bring Zamora's reign of abuse to an end. Her arrest soon followed a necessary and urgent step to protect the child and prevent further harm. The legal proceedings were swift, culminating in a critical development. In 2019, Brittany Zamora faced justice, and the severity of her crimes was reflected in the sentence handed down: 20 years in prison. This wasn't just a punishment. It was a societal declaration that such abuses of power will not be tolerated and that the protection of children remains paramount. Brittany Zamora's case serves as a harrowing reflection, a stark mirror held up to the darkest corners of human behavior. Her actions were a grotesque perversion of affection, a calculated abuse of power disguised as something else entirely. She exploited a position of trust, turning the educational environment into a breeding ground for manipulation and harm. This case is a crucial reminder for parents, educators, and students alike. Vigilance is not merely a recommendation, but an absolute necessity. The signs of grooming can be subtle, but the consequences are anything but. Brittany Zamora's 20-year sentence is a testament to the damage she inflicted and a stark warning to anyone who would dare to follow her path of deception and abuse. This is a story that demands to be remembered, not to sensationalize, but to educate, to empower, and to protect. 3. Deborah Lafave. A name that ignited a firestorm of outrage, a case that exposed uncomfortable truths about justice perception and what happens when appearance seemingly trumps accountability. This isn't just a true crime story. It's a raw examination of a system under scrutiny and the public's visceral reaction to perceived leniency. The pivotal year in this deeply disturbing narrative is 2004. Deborah Lafave, then a teacher in Florida, engaged in sexual encounters with a 14-year-old student. This wasn't a consensual relationship. It was a predatory act, a clear and undeniable abuse of power and trust. Lafave, in her position also as an educator, held an immense responsibility for the well-being and safety of her students. Instead, she exploited that very position, crossing an unforgivable line that shattered the sanctity of the classroom and the innocence of a child. The details that emerged painted a picture of a teacher preying on a vulnerable minor, a betrayal of the highest order. What truly sent shockwaves through the nation, however, is the resolution of her case in 2005. Despite the gravity of her crimes, Deborah Lafave was given house arrest. Not only that, she received no prison time whatsoever, instead being sentenced only to probation. This outcome was met with immediate widespread incredulity and fury. The reason cited for this astonishingly lenient sentence was a deeply troubling one: the intense media attention surrounding her appearance. Reports at the time suggested that prosecutors and legal teams feared that a jury swayed by her perceived attractiveness might be unduly sympathetic. This speculation, whether entirely accurate or not, fueled a massive public outcry. The narrative quickly shifted from the horrific abuse itself to a heated debate about double standards. Critics argued vehemently that Lafave's gender and appearance had played an undeniable role in her avoiding the prison sentence that many believed she justly deserved. They pointed to countless cases where male perpetrators of similar crimes, regardless of their appearance, were incarcerated for years. The public saw a blatant disparity, a system seemingly bending its own rules based on superficial factors rather than the cold, hard facts of the crime. This case became a lightning rod for discussions about fairness in the justice system. The influence of media portrayal and the deeply entrenched biases that can implicitly or explicitly affect judicial outcomes. Deborah Lafave's name became synonymous with perceived injustice, a symbol of a system that in the eyes of many had failed to deliver equitable consequences for a heinous act. Her probation, rather than signaling justice, ignited a fierce public discourse that continues to resonate today. The Debra Lafave case remains a stark reminder that true justice should be blind, unswayed by anything other than the facts of the crime and the suffering of the victim. 4. Jennifer Fichter. Jennifer Fichter. Her name echoes through the halls of justice as a stark outlier. A rare instance where a female educator's egregious abuse of power met with an uncompromisingly severe sentence. This isn't just a true crime account. It's a critical examination of accountability, the devastating ripple effect of betrayal, and a legal outcome that defied societal expectations. The timeline of Jennifer Fichter's deeply disturbing conduct spans from 2012 to 2014. During this period, Fichter, a teacher in Florida, engaged in a series of highly inappropriate and illegal relationships with not one but 3 of her students, each aged 17. This wasn't a singular lapse in judgment. It was a sustained pattern of predatory behavior, a calculated exploitation of her position, and the vulnerability of impressionable young men. Her actions systematically eroded the trust placed in educators, turning the very environment meant for growth and safety into a hunting ground for her illicit desires. The consequences of her actions were not only emotional and psychological, but shockingly physical. One of these illicit relationships resulted in a pregnancy, a devastating and undeniable byproduct of her profound betrayal. The decision was made for her to have an abortion, adding another layer of complexity and tragedy to an already horrific situation. This detail underscored the extreme and life-altering ramifications of Fichter's actions, moving beyond mere professional misconduct into the realm of profound personal devastation for those involved. The truth, as it often does, eventually came to light. In 2014, the parents of one of the victims discovered incriminating messages, peeling back the layers of Fichter's deception and exposing the grim reality of her predatory behavior. This discovery served as the catalyst for the inevitable downfall of Jennifer Fichter, bringing her illicit activities to an abrupt halt and paving the way for legal action. The legal process culminated in 2015 with a verdict that sent a clear and unequivocal message. Jennifer Fichter was sentenced to 22 years in prison. This was not merely a judgment. It was a powerful statement from the court system. Her sentence was notably harsh, making her case a rare exception among similar instances involving female educators. Unlike some previous cases where perceived leniency or double standards became a point of public contention, Fichter's punishment reflected the severity and sustained nature of her crimes, as well as the significant harm inflicted upon multiple victims. This outcome was widely seen as a victory for justice, signaling that such profound breaches of trust, regardless of the perpetrator's gender, would be met with rigorous accountability. Jennifer Fichter's case serves as a crucial precedent, a powerful reminder that the exploitation of students by those in positions of authority will be met with the full force of the law, and that justice in this instance was unswayed by anything other than the shocking reality of her actions. 5. Jacqueline Ma. Her name once synonymous with excellence, a beacon of educational achievement transformed in an instant into a chilling symbol of the most profound betrayal. This isn't merely a true crime narrative. It's a gut-wrenching descent into the unthinkable, a horrifying testament to the abuse of innocence where it should have been most protected. The initial irony of Jacqueline Ma's story makes her fall all the more devastating. In 2022, she was lauded, celebrated, and officially named Teacher of the Year. This prestigious accolade painted a picture of a dedicated, exemplary educator, a role model within her community. This public recognition, however, would soon become a chilling backdrop to the horrific truth lurking beneath the surface. It serves as a stark reminder that even those held in the highest esteem can harbor the darkest secrets. The facade shattered in 2023. Jacqueline Ma was arrested for sexual misconduct, not with teenagers, but with multiple elementary school students. This wasn't a case of crossing professional boundaries with adolescents. This was the systematic targeting and exploitation of children at their most vulnerable in the very early stages of their educational journey. The sheer depravity of preying on such young, trusting minds is almost impossible to comprehend. Her methods of grooming were as insidious as they were calculated. She didn't rely on digital platforms. Instead, she employed more traditional, seemingly innocuous means, handwritten notes, and gifts. These seemingly innocent gestures were in reality tools of manipulation, designed to isolate, to gain trust, and to slowly erode the boundaries of young children. This analog approach to grooming highlights the diverse ways predators can operate, adapting their methods to the age and vulnerability of their victims. The classroom, meant to be a safe haven for learning and growth, became a terrifying trap. The legal process was direct and unsparing, reflecting the extreme gravity of her crimes. Jacqueline Ma was sentenced to 30 years in prison. This extraordinarily harsh sentence underscores the court's recognition of the profound and irreparable harm she inflicted. It sends an unequivocal message that such egregious betrayals of trust, especially against the youngest and most defenseless members of society, will be met with the most severe consequences. Jacqueline Ma's case serves as a deeply disturbing reflection on the nature of trust and its catastrophic violation at the lowest grade level. It's a shocking reminder that predators can wear any guise, even that of a celebrated educator. The innocence of elementary school children. Their innate trust in their teachers was not just broken, but brutally shattered. This case is a call to heightened vigilance, a painful lesson that the greatest monsters can sometimes hide behind the brightest smiles and the most esteemed titles. The 30-year sentence handed down to Jacqueline Ma is a desperate attempt to bring some measure of justice to her tiny victims and a permanent stain on the very idea of a Teacher of the Year. 6. Christina Formella. Christina Formella. Her case is a chilling illustration of the insidious nature of emotional manipulation and the devastating impact it can have within the seemingly safe confines of a teacher-student relationship. This isn't just a true crime story. It's a cautionary tale about the subtle but dangerous ways trust can be eroded and how accusations are vehemently denied, even in the face of compelling evidence. The timeline for Christina Formella's alleged misconduct emerged in 2024 when she was suspended after inappropriate messages with a 15-year-old student were discovered. The nature of these communications extended beyond mere flirtation, delving into sexually explicit territory and revealing a deeply disturbing power imbalance. Formella, a special education teacher and soccer coach, had leveraged her position of authority and influence to cultivate an illicit relationship with a vulnerable minor. The discovery of these messages by the victim's mother, who found them while setting up a new phone for her son, was the critical turning point that brought Formella's alleged actions to light. Immediately, Formella publicly denied the accusations. Her defense was striking. She claimed to be misunderstood, portraying herself as a caring individual who was simply being targeted because of her appearance and her genuine concern for the student court documents reveal she even attempted to frame the victim as a stalker, alleging he had blackmailed her by planting messages on her phone. This narrative of victimhood, attempting to deflect blame and paint herself as an innocent party, highlights the manipulative tactics often employed by alleged predators. However, investigators reportedly found memoir-like entries on her phone that contradicted her claims, detailing her own emotions and anger towards the student, and even discussing sexual contact. As of now, Christina Formella is currently awaiting trial. This phase is crucial as the legal system grapples with the evidence, her denials, and the victim's testimony. The case has already garnered significant media attention, fueled by the nature of the allegations and Formella's defiant stance. The outcome will be closely watched, not just for its implications for Formella, but for what it signifies about how society addresses the complex dynamics of teacher-student relationships and allegations of abuse. Christina Formella's case serves as a powerful reflection on the danger of hidden emotional manipulation in teacher-student dynamics. It underscores how such relationships can subtly shift from mentorship to exploitation, often under the guise of affection or special attention. The alleged use of emotional tactics combined with her public denials highlights a critical challenge in true crime: the difficulty of discerning truth when the perpetrator actively attempts to control the narrative and gaslight their victims. This case is a stark reminder for parents, students, and school administrations to remain vigilant, to recognize the warning signs of inappropriate emotional boundaries, and to understand that the most profound betrayals can often be masked by seemingly innocuous interactions. The legal process will determine Formella's fate, but the lessons from her case about the insidious nature of grooming and manipulation will resonate far beyond the courtroom. 7. Alyssa Perry. Alyssa Perry. Her name has recently surfaced in a case that is grabbing headlines not just for the serious allegations, but for shining a spotlight on the often blurred lines of responsibility and power dynamics after a student leaves the formal classroom setting. This isn't a story of a teacher preying on a current student within school walls, but a chilling narrative that questions the lingering influence of an educator even after graduation. The unfolding events surrounding Alyssa Perry are squarely placed in 2025. She has been accused of having 2 inappropriate encounters with a 17-year-old former student. Crucially, these alleged incidents did not occur on school grounds, but at her home. This geographical shift is significant, attempting to exploit the perceived freedom of a relationship outside the school's direct purview. However, the law and societal expectations often hold that the power imbalance between a former teacher and a recent student does not simply vanish with a diploma. The former student, though no longer formally enrolled in Perry's class, was still a minor at 17, and the history of their teacher-student relationship casts a long shadow. The seriousness of the allegations is reflected in the charges brought against her: sexual assault and endangering a minor. These are grave accusations indicating that authorities believe the encounters went far beyond inappropriate and into the realm of criminal behavior. The endangering a minor charge in particular emphasizes the vulnerability of the victim and the adult's duty of care, irrespective of the school's immediate oversight. Following her arrest, Alyssa Perry was released on bail. This is a common legal procedure, allowing an accused individual to remain free while awaiting trial, provided they adhere to specific conditions. However, the very fact of her being charged and the nature of those charges has cast a pall over her professional and personal life. The legal process is now set to move forward with her trial, currently pending in July 2025. This upcoming court date will be a critical juncture where evidence will be presented and a jury or judge will determine the truth behind the accusations. This case undeniably highlights the blurred lines that can emerge after graduation. While a student may no longer be physically present in a teacher's classroom, the influence, authority, and inherent trust that were established during the educational period can persist. This creates a deeply problematic dynamic if a teacher chooses to exploit it. The Alyssa Perry case forces a critical examination of how long the ethical and professional responsibilities of an educator extend, particularly when dealing with minors who have only recently left their charge. It's a stark reminder that the duty to protect and uphold the welfare of young people transcends the physical boundaries of the school and the formal end of a student's enrollment. The outcome of her trial will not only determine Alyssa Perry's fate, but will also contribute to the ongoing conversation about safeguarding students from predatory behavior, regardless of when and where the alleged abuse takes place. 8. Brooke Anderson. Brooke Anderson. A name that has recently emerged from the shadows of secrecy into the harsh glare of public scrutiny, revealing a shocking betrayal of trust within the very confines of a learning environment. This isn't a historical account. It's one of the most recent and chilling true crime cases, serving as a stark warning about the insidious nature of predatory behavior within schools. The timeline of Brooke Anderson's alleged misconduct spans from 2024 to 2025. For a staggering 8 months, she is accused of maintaining a secret relationship with a student. This wasn't a fleeting moment of indiscretion, but a prolonged, calculated deception, meticulously hidden from the watchful eyes of parents, colleagues, and school authorities. An 8-month period signifies a deep and entrenched grooming process, where boundaries were systematically eroded and a vulnerable student was manipulated under the guise of a clandestine connection. This duration amplifies the calculated nature of her actions, painting a picture of deliberate exploitation rather than a sudden lapse in judgment. The unraveling of this dark secret came dramatically and publicly. Brooke Anderson was caught after being intimate with the student inside a classroom. This act of brazen recklessness within the very space dedicated to education and safety shattered the illusion of secrecy. The discovery wasn't hidden or indirect. It was a direct exposure of her criminal conduct, leaving no room for denial or misinterpretation. Being caught in the act within the school's walls underscores a disturbing disregard for consequences and a profound disrespect for the sacred trust placed in educators. The legal ramifications for Brooke Anderson are poised to be exceptionally severe. She now faces the possibility of up to 45 years in prison. This potential sentence is staggering, reflecting the grave nature of the charges and the deep societal revulsion for such breaches of professional ethics and legal statutes. A sentence of this magnitude is typically reserved for the most serious crimes, signifying the profound harm inflicted upon the victim and the systemic betrayal of the public's trust in the education system. It serves as a powerful deterrent and a clear statement of zero tolerance for such predatory behavior. This case stands out as one of the most recent and well-documented instances of teacher-student sexual misconduct. Its recency means the details are still fresh in the public consciousness, serving as an immediate and relevant example for discussions on safeguarding vigilance and accountability. The extensive documentation surrounding her apprehension will likely ensure a thorough and public legal process, laying bare the mechanisms of grooming and exploitation. Brooke Anderson's case is a critical reminder that vigilance must be unwavering. It highlights the insidious danger of hidden emotional and physical manipulation, even when outwardly a relationship appears to be kept secret. The potential 45-year sentence isn't just about punishment. It's about justice for the victim and sending an unequivocal message that those who betray the trust of their position and harm children will face the full and uncompromising force of the law. This is a story still being written, but its initial chapters are already a chilling testament to the constant need for safeguarding within our schools. Each of these stories, from Brittany Zamora's calculated grooming to Brooke Anderson's brazen classroom betrayal, is more than just a headline. It's a profound tragedy that rewrote the lives of victims forever. When teachers betray their sacred role, violating the trust placed in them by students and parents alike, the damage inflicted lasts far beyond the classroom walls. The emotional scars, the shattered innocence, and the lingering trauma are wounds that may never fully heal. These cases stand as somber cautionary tales of how trust, once broken in such a fundamental way, can leave an indelible mark on individuals and communities. If you found this exploration of real-life crime cases informative and believe in the importance of shedding light on these critical issues, please consider subscribing for more content that truly matters.